Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Teacher's Table. I am super jazzed to have you. I am Michael Matera, for those of you new to the Teacher's Table. If you could please introduce yourself, whether you're new or you've been to Teacher's Table for a long time. We've been doing these now for months. So yeah, throw your name down into the sort of chat box, introduce yourself, let us know you're here, let us know where you're from, what you do, all sorts of good things. The Teacher's Table, for those of you that are new, the Teacher's Table is a place that we all sort of gather around as educators, come together to learn, to share, to grow, to help each other out. And it's a positive space. It's a wonderful community where we're supporting each other, and I love it. It's a nice little daily thing we're doing right now here through the Hive. We're going to do it every morning, as well as some bonus ones. So everybody, thanks. Let's see who we got here to start off our day. We got Heather. Welcome back. Greetings from Florida. Nice, good to see you. Nicole, nice to see you from Missouri. Hamdi made it back. I'm so glad to connect on Twitter and Instagram with you yesterday. Carrie made it back. Love seeing Carrie. Scott's here. Natalia's here. I'm loving the crew that we got. Regina's here. Heidi from Duluth, Minnesota. Welcome. I believe this is your first Teacher's Table, so welcome to the space. Michael made it back from Malaysia. Thank you for watching my session again. I think you were one of the first to sort of tweet out about it, so appreciate that, Michael. Nick Davis from Nebraska. Love seeing Nick Davis here. Good friend of mine. Carol made it. I love Carol. It's awesome. Amanda Gray, so happy that you tweeted out that you're going to try the Busy Bee recipe, the sort of Thai salad that I put up there. So thanks for tweeting that out. And I can't wait to see your creation. That's going to be awesome. Nicole made it to Teacher's Table. This will be my 19th year, and I'm currently a 6th grade teacher in Missouri. Welcome to the Teacher's Table. Super glad to have you. Kathy Sue made it back. Carmen made it from Morocco. I love seeing this. I love Teacher's Table. It's a big table, spans the whole world. I dig it. Jennifer Knox making it back. I dig it. Love it. Adam Marino here. Thank you very much. We are going to be talking about routines and rituals from yesterday's session, which was an excellent one. Dean Gainey making it back. Thank you so much for making it 2 days in a row. I really love the connection. That's fantastic. Right, so a little bit for those of you that are new to either YouTube Live or Teacher's Table. Some of the etiquette we have here is, one, we want to be a welcoming crew. Everyone's welcome at the table, that's for sure. So if somebody sort of seems new or introduces themselves as new in the midst of our chat, in the midst of our discussion, definitely take a moment to welcome them. And then the other etiquette, just to make this sort of work a little easier on my end, YouTube, if you've never used it, the chat box here, if you tag somebody, if you hit @ and then it'll bring up some names, and if you type in their name, it highlights that person's name, so it lets them see that you're talking to them. And I'm going to ask you some reflection questions throughout this, and I want this to be a nice back and forth discussion between us. One way that I get to see it on my end when I'm trying to see through all of your chat discussions, because some of you guys are talking to each other, which is fantastic. You're connecting. When you're doing all that, it's hard for me to necessarily find the comments that go with our conversation. So if you could just take the moment to tag me in the front end of it, and then I just skip over reading that part and I read your sort of comment. So that would be super awesome. We did that. Take a brief moment. I want to look at the schedule here. So looking at the schedule here, here we are. We got our Hive event. That's me today. Today's my day in the Hive, so that's super exciting. My video's out there, so definitely watch that. We got our Teacher's Table we're doing right now. And then tonight we have our first Teacher's Table talk back with Dean Gainey himself, who's here in this Teacher's Table now. So we're going to be doing a talk back on his session specifically today at 7 p.m. But today's teacher's table is going to be all about our day 2. We're sort of processing yesterday's video. And again, if you haven't watched yesterday's video, definitely do so, but you don't have to do so to participate in today's chat by any means. This is just going to be some nice processing. They had some great things in their session. They have a great recipe. I got to tell you, I actually tried their recipe last night. I even have, there's my picture of it. It was delicious. So definitely think about picking that up. I have a really awkward shot of me eating it. If we get to today's like goals, I'll show the awkward shot of me. But that's only if we get today's like goals. For those of you that are new, here's our like goals for today. We have a like goal of 30. This is to show that we're present, we're here together, and then we celebrate. We do a little confetti party, and today, bonus, you get a really not flattering shot of me eating this, but it was delicious. It was so delicious. You guys got to give these Busy Bees recipes a try. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. We're already at 17 on the like goals. That's a thing. That's awesome. All right, so all right. First sort of thing, Christine and Jessica both are pre-primary teachers, right? And they spoke about their routines and their rituals. And it was a really good session. I found their discussion helpful. But what I found helpful and like how I made it helpful for me was by listening to them and then thinking of ways to connect their experience with my own experience. And also thinking about ways that I could adapt and change what was sort of being said a little bit to fit my classroom, my style, and my students. So my question for you all is, how do you approach PD that is not specifically aligned to your subject matter, your grade level? You know, like when it's not that perfect session built just for you. I'm a firm believer, you've heard me say it on the teacher's table before, there's always a pearl to be had in some sessions. I mean, like it's guaranteed there's a pearl there, but it's a matter of if you're able to sort of pull it out. Sometimes it's easier because it's specifically built for you in your class, but not always. And yesterday I found some wonderful things, wonderful reminders to do in my classroom, lots of inspiration, but it didn't necessarily speak to being a 6th grade teacher, yet it was there. So my question for you again is, how do you approach PD that's not aligned to your subject or, you know, age or interest or whatever to still get those pearls out of there? That's a good one. The session for me had these things that these routines that they did, and we'll get into some of the routines they did, you know, in next questions. But they're knowing from my own daughter when she was in kindergarten, you know, they did a lot of those activities and they spiced those activities up a little bit with that sort of connection. They talked about relationship building. All of these things were super important to me as a 6th grade teacher. And it kind of blew my mind how much their world is similar to my world, right? Like they care about the whole child. They're really trying to think about the whole child. They're pushing connections with the kids from their life to sort of the outside world. Like as a world history teacher, that speaks to me huge. So let's see what we got. Kathy Sue gives us one here. I took several pearls away to work with secondary teachers. I love the routines and rituals. So this idea of like finding something, a pearl, a piece of wisdom in a session is it's about mindset, right? It's about attitude. And I think when you have that right mindset and that right attitude, it's allowing you to sort of pull out those ideas and details. But you have to be creative with it. I got to tell you, as a world history teacher, I get to go every so often to the National History Conference, right? Like, boom, there's something like 14,000 history teachers coming together. And I got to tell you, 98.5% of that conference is built for U.S. history teachers. I mean, there's just U.S. history teachers, U.S. history sessions all over that place. And I'm a world history teacher. I don't teach U.S. history at all. And this is the national conference, 14,000 educators. And like, I swear to you, it's like 1.5% that's not U.S. history based. So I like my whole career going to these things, I've had to sort of pull those pearls out. And it's about that adaptation. It's about the inspiration. It's about a piece of a project that you could add to yours, you know. So attitude and mindset are huge. Let's see what else we got. Carol, my biggest takeaway was how powerful collaboration can be, and just that by itself created so many learning activities and opportunities to connect. That's so true. Caitlin, I believe you're new. I didn't catch you on the opening there, but welcome, Caitlin. As a special area teacher, much PD presented doesn't have anything to do with my area, but I tried it myself to get others. That's so good, right? It's about that mindset and pulling things out yourself. Regina says some kids really need that whole child intentionality beyond elementary school. When they don't get it, bad things happen. 100%. I gotta tell you, I teach middle school, and there's always that joke about middle school being like terrible years to teach. I love middle school kids. They're full of passion and energy. But the mistake that I think some middle school teachers make is leans a little too to the sarcastic. You know, I love sarcasm. Don't get me wrong. I do it a lot. But you got to take moments to be intentionally like empathetic, to sort of build those sort of moments of safety around your classroom. Let's see here. Carmen, what does Carmen say? I have always think about what I can be applied to my grade level. Fifth, routines and rituals are super important to build with your class. I taught fifth grade, 100% agree, even at sixth grade, and probably on some level all classes, even college. Like, understanding what's expected of you, understanding the system is important if you're going to be successful inside any system. Hamby, let's hear from you. Yesterday's session was amazing for me. I teach kindergarten, so I kept visualizing their ideas and trying to see how I could do it in my classroom and what's best for my kids. Hamdi, that's awesome. And the fact that you teach kindergarten, I would reach out with two of them. I mean, like a weather report from Cairo's got to be pretty awesome. Even if it was like a guest appearance, I think that'd be kind of neat. And with the flip grid, I think that they could do that. Lots of discussions happening between you guys. I'm loving it. That's so fantastic. Yeah, so Carol makes a connection here. This is what I love by putting on Hive Summit and getting to interact with all these teachers. It is amazing to me, the common threads, whether you teach kindergarten or tomorrow's session when we talk to Alexis Wiggins, who teaches high school. Hers is about definitely a pedagogy, but inside that pedagogy, routines and rituals, super important. Student relationships, super important. Student agency, super important. These common threads, like it's not a mystery what makes good teaching and what makes a good learning environment. We just have to be reminded to continue to bring those elements daily. Let's see. Here we go. We talked yesterday about finding the pearls. Sometimes we need to make ideas and strategies our own treasures. As arts teachers, I often need to create my own pearls. I'm right there with you, buddy. Like I said, 98.5% U.S. history stuff, but I got to pull out of there those pearls of wisdom, adapt, make it my own treasure. And I'm going to even go one step further. If you're in a situation like mine, choose like where 98% aren't geared towards me. That means there's a void there. So there's a responsibility for us to then, if we see that, to meet that need. So toss your hat in the ring, put in a proposal to speak. I've spoken at our history conference a lot, that's what makes it 98.5%, or else it would be 99%. Lauren, thank you for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. There's a wonderful PD on the channel, and I love it when people connect that way so that we can kind of grow throughout the year, not just in Hive Summit. All right, Q2 here for you guys. We've been on Q1 for a while. So they talked about welcoming ritual called the Wish You Well for students who are out for the day, right? And how this all sort of speaks to sort of building a positive community and environment. So I want to ask you, how do you take opportunities to build community within your class? How does that happen for you? For me, so let's see. For me, building community in my class is super huge. I do it right away with some team building in the beginning, some real intentional team building. I dedicate quite a bit of time to that team building in the beginning of the year, and make sure that it's not only centered on curriculum. Like sometimes people try to like fold in team building with like, and we're getting them signed up for their Google Classroom through a breakout. Like that's awesome that you're doing the breakout, but like sometimes like team building needs to be the centerpiece, and it doesn't have to be also what academic thing are you getting. Honor the relationship, invest in that relationship. So that's one way I do it. But then I gotta also say on that point, don't make team building just that thing you do at the beginning of the year. Make sure you invest in that team building, nurture those relationships throughout the year. I do all sorts of collaborative activities. This is going to be a bit of a head scratcher for me this coming year because so much of my class centers around like working at the table with your group. And so I'm going to have to kind of establish some new routines and new activities around those. That's going to be the big challenge for me moving forward. All right, let's see what we got here. Don, Zardon's here. It's been a while. I know you've been busy. Borja, thank you for subscribing to the channel as well. Like I said, super helpful. Don, thank you for making it back. I love it. I hope your brisket turned out great yesterday. You tweeted me that. It looked yummy. I kind of wanted to run over there. Don's just one state down from me. Nicole, I'm so glad that you're excited about that upcoming day. It's going to be awesome. Their stuff's amazing, and I really appreciate their sort of focus on practical. Like they're giving you strategies, much like today's session. I mean, they really gave you like the templates. They gave you the things to do. That's awesome. We're at 22 on the likes. If we can get 8 more, not only are you going to get that crazy picture, but we're going to get a confetti dance party. It's going to be awesome. Let's see. On Fridays we do an either or question. It seems simple, but the students, seniors, love the time to just have conversations and get to know you. That openness of conversations is pretty powerful. And you almost see the students' interest peak when it's clear you're setting aside sort of the lesson plan for a moment. And they kind of like lean in. They're like, "Oh, this is a real moment," and so don't shy away from setting that aside. Don't shy away from setting the lesson plan aside for a sec. What does Jennifer Knox say? I'm working more on building groups in the class. I plan to keep them together all year. The game is a new piece for me that seems to help bring each class together. For me, that bonding of groups has been so huge. If you think about like that sports team, right, and how much they care about each other on and off the field, I always wanted to have that kind of, I'm going to use the word brotherhood, if you will, like connection in the class, but we don't seem to get it. And when I started to gamify and put those kids in groups and put them in groups that were long-term groups, and then worked on with team building, with asset-based thinking, where you start to think about what are the assets each group have, and you start to teach them about asset-based thinking, and you work them through that. The level in which the pride they have as a team and the understanding, the familial understanding they have of each other really shapes and changes the experience in the classroom, for sure. 100%. What's Dean say? Building community, the quote of the day, accomplishes that in many ways, infusing drama, acting into the class, actors' toolbox, interactive student connection, conversations, movement. Whew, Dean, that was a power-packed answer. There are so many ways you can sort of build that into your classroom. Like I said, head scratcher for this year is how we're going to build it in the sort of spaced out classroom or your all virtual classroom. Bridge says, my schoolers, we explore other communities around our community and learn from it. We live in southern Florida. Oops. So we look at the Cuban community and look at ways to bring that into our own class. I love that sort of connection, especially that local connection. Sometimes we're so focused on like a global perspective. I'm a world history teacher, so maybe this is just my thinking that I'm always focused on global perspective. But I love the idea of reaching out and establishing some connections locally. I was reading somebody yesterday tweeting about how, like, you know, somebody was saying, like, how can we apply all these movements that are happening in our world? You know, Black Lives Matter, such an important movement. And they were saying, like, how can we teach with authenticity towards all of these things? And somebody's reply was, a great place to start is find out what are the local population for you in terms of like Native Americans, and like what tribes existed before we were all here, and maybe make some strong connections there. And I just thought, like, wow, that was so awesome to also connect back to Native Americans in your local region, and then make that connection in the classroom so that people better understand the history of your region before you kind of understand the history of the world. That was pretty awesome. Let's see. I start every day with the question, who has good news? Who has a kind word? Who has a funny story or a joke? I learned so much by this routine. We have an advising routine in my school and in my classroom, obviously, being part of the school. And similarly, like, we get such great knowledge about who the kids are when you have these kind of moments, these open-ended questions that are not necessarily curricular, and that's okay, because it's relationship building, and it's going to help you in those curricular moments down the way, for sure. So that's awesome. Let's see here. Ooh, Michael, you're speaking my language. I absolutely love games. I think everybody on here knows that. That's fantastic. Was Nick Davis say, we build a mission statement as a class using input from our students and reflect on the mission once every couple of weeks. I love that mission-centered classroom. I believe you picked that one up from last year's Hive Summit speaker, Mr. Knightsky, Ted Knightsky, wonderful speaker. And yeah, you guys should catch that session. What does Carmen say? We start by creating a class name. They need to create one that encompasses their uniqueness, similarities, and shared goals. I love that sort of like bonding, right? Like when there is a togetherness, when you forge it, and when you forge a classroom like that. Let's see. So many great answers here. Nicole says, I use a 360 form to gather info from my students at the beginning of the year, getting all of that info and then actually working with it. It helps me continue to connect the connections throughout the year. I love it. I think this is awesome, and it can fly under the radar. Sometimes if you like have the kids take some fairly large survey answering all sorts of questions, from like birthdays to favorite foods to like whatever you can think of, maybe throw some curricular things in there so they feel like that this is actually about the class in the school. But then if you use that data, and I can't stress this enough, like get that data, but then use that data. I say the same thing with like any kind of survey that you do with students. Use that data, look through it, and figure out ways you can build in some of those things into your class, whether it's their likes, their dislikes. If it's their birthday, then like honor that it's their birthday, right? Nice to see you here. Hi, Mr. Matera. I and my wife really enjoyed yesterday's session. We are secondary teachers in the UK. Their routines and rituals should be used too. It is crucial for their sense of belonging and mental health. Borja, I fully agree. And I think that's what I was saying from that first question, is just that we can all gain pearls. I absolutely love that you and your wife both sat down to watch it, and found it impactful as secondary teachers as well. Man, great. My team building grows throughout the year. I start with instrumental groups and then branch out to instrument families and finally full band. So many great opportunities. I love it. Love it. We're at 23. We're at 7 away from our goal, people. 7 away. So if you haven't smashed that like button, do it. Let's see. Mr. Matera, dedicated for many days to team building and scratching my head about how to do this digitally. Friday game day. Ooh, I didn't finish reading that. Friday game day equals disrupts R1 individual, R2 group collab, R3 present. Super fun. We'll do on Zoom. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. Game day is great. Don, you crazy, crazy man. So many great connections here. Love all the chats that you guys are having. All right, so with just a few minutes left here, I want us to sort of turn our attention a little bit here to ways you use social media to make meaningful professional connections. These two seemed so naturally connected, but the reality is they learned about each other through Twitter chats, and then eventually, like, more and more decided to sort of get connected and eventually made this beautiful, like, year-long daily connection. And so I think this is inspiring for all of us to realize, like, putting your voice out there is how you get connected. Connected doesn't just mean follow, right? We saw some people subscribe to my channel today. Connected doesn't mean just that they subscribed. Connected means they actually use the material. They actually, like, watch the videos, or in their case, like, just being on Twitter and following each other wasn't going to make the connection. It was the fact that they were in shared spaces on Twitter, like chats. They were participating in those chats. They weren't lurkers, is the word they use on Twitter. When you just watch a chat, they were active participants. And it was through being active participants on these social media spaces that they connected and that they learned about each other. So what are ways we can use social media to make meaningful connections professionally, personally, your choice, but with kids, without kids? That's my question here. That's the question we're going to kind of end on. I absolutely love social media. But that last point I just made about, like, a meaningful connection, that's all that matters. I mean, I think early on in Twitter, I was sort of just like everybody else, sort of focused on, like, how many followers do I have? I hope I get more followers. Like, hey, everybody, make sure you follow, right? But the reality is, I just want quality followers. You can cut my followers down by 90% if it meant the 10% that's left are the ones that are actually going to, like, respond, the people that are actually going to read, the people that are actually going to do, right? So it goes back to that meaningful connection. And I think social media, like, users are starting to realize that. We're starting to, like, have positive communities like Teachers Table where we can connect and share and grow. You guys are responding to each other, like you're actually reading each other's material and writing each other. This is a healthy community, and this is what healthy social media can look like. So thank you for being brave coming today. Thank you for being brave putting your voice out there and making connections that you don't know how those are going to grow over the years, but you got to start by doing it. Let's see here. A flood of Mr. Materas came in. We're really, like, only 4 away from today's goal. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get there. Oh, 2 away. Ugh. Let's see. Heather says, Mr. Bear, I can't even tell you how many lesson ideas I get from Twitter. Honestly, yesterday I met a group of people just commenting on their posts. People are very generous to share their hard work. That is what I absolutely love about teachers and the community that we have here. Let's see. I love the connection made through Teachers Table, XP Lab, Hive Summit, but we all need to follow each other and not to be afraid to reach out to one another and collaborate. 100%, right? 100%. Like, I'm super honored that you guys took time to be here at Teachers Table this morning. That's so great. That's so powerful. Let's see. Carol XP Lab chats have blessed me with so many great connections that I have created friendships. We share and help each other all the time. So true. I mean, the idea of true friendships. I mean, I remember early in Twitter when I started to like truly make these connections and truly like sort of write back to each other and like understand each other and know each other a little bit. It was so odd to me at first, but like now I absolutely love it. When you go to a conference and all of a sudden like you know people and like you actually know them, like you're excited to be like, oh, Carol's gonna be here. I'm excited to see Carol and meet Carol and like hang out with Carol. Maybe we'll go to dinner with like a group. It's gonna be awesome, right? But like arguably, like I know these people via Twitter. It's amazing, but it can be real. Love it that you are looking for ways to collaborate and learn together. I hope Hive Summit helps build those connections for you. And again, I hope throughout the school year we can maintain these connections via different opportunities that we can all offer on social media and share out together for sure. What does Michael say? This is one thing that I work to develop with my students so that they are digital leaders in social media. I think again that quality follower is important, and nurturing the communities in which people come to sort of share and help each other is huge. Oh, thank you, Caitlin. That means a lot. Really, I do this for all of you guys to like make us all stronger, better, and it means a lot that the summit worked well for you. See, Amanda Gray says, I didn't love Twitter until I actually started participating in chats. I love the community. I love learning from so many educators. I agree. The chats are really what amp it up for me as a teacher, for sure. Let's see. Oh, I'm curious, Hamdi. What did Hive Summit make you do? She's referencing somebody else's conversation, and I don't know which one it is. Oh. So many good side conversations here. Mr. Matera, as we went on lockdown, that connection of being with teachers in school community was lost, but Twitter and chats have helped me fill that void. Our school did I think a really nice job of trying to recognize the fact that when we're in school, we are a community. And when we flipped to digital, they took intentional steps to try to build community. So my principal and the assistant principal had standing sort of office hours that they made sort of loose, like they were to just talk, to just hang out, and it wasn't necessarily where you went. Like it wasn't office hours for me to say like I have this problem that you'd schedule for another time. This was just like standing at 4 o'clock. You could kind of buzz in and chit chat, talk about the day, talk about learning, and I love that. Then Chuck Taft, who I work with, ran a Friday trivia every week through the COVID sort of shutdown for our staff. He is actually doing a trivia here, so you're going to want to check the calendar so that you don't miss his trivia night on YouTube Live. It's going to be amazing. But those connections are important. Don, I know you're a huge fan of Voxer for the real connections. You hear a voice. This is actually what made me fall in love with YouTube in general. Is I liked the PD on Twitter, but when I started following some people on YouTube, and I really felt like I knew those people, and I like cared about those people, and I don't know, they felt like you really knew them. And that's what got me to start my channel, because I was like, I want that same relational aspect for all of you. I want you to see my classroom. I want you to see my world. I want you to hear my positivity and my attitude, not just read it in a tweet, and if you read it or don't read it. So I hear you that Voxer has that same sort of personal connection, and I absolutely love it. If you guys haven't used Voxer, definitely check it out. We're at 28. So close, guys. So close to today's goal. We didn't quite get there. But let's see. Heather says, what's Chuck Taft's Twitter handle? I don't know it off the top of my head, actually. I will find it for you. Oh, it is literally at Chuck Taft. We made it, people. We made it. I promised you we would do the confetti party. We'll do that first. Little confetti party. Boom. I dig it. Thank you all for being here. I absolutely love this positive community and processing Hive Summit. That's fantastic. We learned so much from each other. We're at 32, I think, right now. That's amazing. Our high, I think, was 36. So let's hope we can get there this week, that we can climb up. I'm hoping with all the like 12,000 educators that are on Hive Summit, that some of them come here to Teacher's Table and can push those up. That's awesome. I also promised you guys a awkward photo of me eating the dish. Well, before I show that, let's go back to the dish itself. Dish was amazing. I absolutely loved it. The shrimp, the meat choice you put on top was kind of optional. I went with shrimp. It was delicious. I absolutely loved it. And here is sort of the awkward photo. It's hard to take a selfie while trying to eat, but that's the one I got. I hope you guys enjoy the photo. I also hope you guys enjoy some of the recipes. Definitely check out each presenter has a recipe card, and then there's a recipe section. I know it sounds crazy, like we're talking about recipes at a educational summit, but you know what? We're feeding the mind. Things at Teacher's Table here, we're feeding the heart, and we want to be the whole child. We want to be the whole person to you. We're going to feed your belly too. All right, everybody. I want you guys to be awesome, be present, and let's rock this day. Let's have it. Hopefully you guys watch my session today. It's a good one. Take care, everybody.